Third speaker of the morning is Eliza Bird. Eliza will be presenting speech 5 from the Confident Communicator, Your Body Speaks. Eliza's speech is entitled Adventures in Afghanistan. Eliza visited Afghanistan over 50 years ago. She'd like to tell you about some of her experiences back then in the country, before the Russians or Americans, when the Afghans fully controlled their own country and there was peace. Please help me welcome Eliza.
It was dark, and it was crowded, and it was smelly. It was dark because the only light was from the little bus we were riding in, on the road, in the middle of the night. It was smelly because there were, in those days in Afghanistan, they didn't have gas stations, so our bus was carrying its own gasoline in little round cans rolling around underneath the seats. My mother was terrified. She was just so sure that with the guys chain smoking and lighting their cigarettes, a spark would hit the gasoline and we would all blow up. I was happy. We'd gotten to the Iran-Afghan border that afternoon, only to find out that our bus from Iran had to turn around on the border and go back. And they said, you just walk across the border and a bus will come to take you into Afghanistan. So we walked across the border and there were some little buildings. There wasn't a restaurant or even a food vendor, so we weren't going to be eating supper. There was no bus. It was clear that there was no place where you could rent a room with beds to sleep for the night, but we figured there must be a floor somewhere they'd let the travelers lay down on. And then a couple hours later, a bus came in and we all got on. So I was happy to be on the road again. And I was tired, and I went to sleep. And the next morning I woke up, and we were in the Afghan city of Herat. And it was quiet and deserted. And we realized there were really no cars, there were just kind of trucks. And I'll pass this around so you can see it better. But these women in front are wearing burqas, which is the Afghan modesty covering. And a burqa is like a tight cap, and then it's pleated around the outside, kind of folds down like this. And then the front is like this little web of embroidery you can sort of see through. It's only about this big. Front hangs down like this, and you pull the sides around like this. We got into the hotel. There was only one hotel in Herat back then. And the manager spotted us and comes up to my father and says, "Oh, we're having a big party tonight, you have to come." And my father says, "Yeah?" And he says, yeah, the king of Afghanistan has made a royal decree that the women are to take off their burqas. And so tonight the top government officials have been ordered to come to the hotel for a celebration, and we'll be serving supper, and they have to bring their wives, and the wives have to not be wearing their burqas. So my mother says, we don't really have proper clothing. We kind of had these sleeveless dresses. And I said, well, that's okay. They need to see how other people dress. So that evening we went out to the garden, and there were chairs arranged around in a square facing inwards. And my mother and I sat over with the women, and my father and brother sat over with the men. And the women, without burqas, had come dressed in headscarves and their winter coats, all buttoned up, and black stockings, and it was a hot night. But as my mother said, you know, if you'd always gone out with a covering like that, and then you were told to go out without the covering, you'd kind of feel like we would feel if someone told us to walk out on the street with a slip-on. Yeah, she had a point. So the next morning, we went into town, and there was in the bazaar, there was a guy with a table selling burqas. So I grabbed a child-sized one, I was about 12 at the time, put it on, and went walking up to my father. And he said, "Hi, Elizabeth." And I said, "How did you know it was me? I mean, this thing really covers you from head to toe." And he said, "By the way you walk." And I said, "Huh." And I looked around, and sure enough, I realized that I kind of stride, and that the Afghan women did more of a shuffle. And I thought, wow, you know, even in a burqa, you can tell it's me. And the main reason I wanted to talk about Afghanistan is that the people there were so nice and kind. We stayed about a week. They were just totally hospitable and friendly and relaxed. There wasn't much going on, but they were kind. And I fell in love with Afghanistan. Even though I'd been to many other countries, I thought, there's something special, there's something magical about this place. And for decades, it was my favorite country in the world. So I've been totally heartbroken by the fact that they've gone through all of these wars and troubles, and I just think of children growing up seeing nothing but wars. And I can only hope that one day there'll be peace in Afghanistan. And the reason I tell you about it is because I hope you'll all go visit, because the Afghan people and the Afghan country are really special. Thank you.